From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Tuesday, June the 2nd, 2020. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu today reiterated his support for the U.S. peace plan to hold negotiations with the Palestinians based on that plan and to push ahead with annexing parts of the West Bank. The Prime Minister tweeted that he reiterated that support and that discussions with the Americans about aspects of the plan, presumably about annexation and mapping, were still continuing. Also, that he met today with Knesset Speaker Yariv Levin and leaders of Jewish settlements, telling them we face a historic opportunity to apply sovereignty to areas of Judea and Samaria, referring there to discussions of annexation of parts of the West Bank. Israel is also dealing with a spike of coronavirus cases since easing regulations and reopening schools recently, where most of the new cases are said to be coming from. Those schools that have been affected have been temporarily closed down, and it remains to be seen if some restrictions may be reinstated. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said there would be a concerted effort to prevent the ICC, the International Criminal Court in The Hague, from opening war crime investigations against the U.S. and against Israel. Pompeo told a podcast hosted by the American Enterprise Institute think tank, "I think that the ICC and the world will see that we are determined to prevent having Americans and our friends and allies in Israel and elsewhere hauled in by this corrupt ICC." He said, "I don't want to get ahead of the announcements we're going to make in the coming days, but I think you'll see." The ICC is weighing separate criminal investigations on actions in Afghanistan, which could affect American soldiers, and also against Israel, as it has done many times in the past regarding treatment of the Palestinians. It also was considering investigations into actions by Palestinian terror groups, including Hamas. The Department of Veterans Affairs said they will replace headstones of German soldiers in 2 military cemeteries in the U.S. that bear a swastika on them, after previously saying they would remain to preserve history. The headstones in question belong to German prisoners of war who in the 1940s during World War II were interred and buried on American soil. They are located in the Fort Sam Houston National Cemetery in San Antonio, Texas, and in the Fort Douglas Post Cemetery in Salt Lake City, Utah. After calls from Congress and from a number of organizations, including Jewish groups, the VA department said it would begin taking required steps about how to replace these headstones with historically accurate markers that do not include the Nazi swastika and German text. VA Secretary Robert Wilkie said Americans must always remember the horror of the Nazi regime and why so many Americans sacrificed so much to free the world from its reign of terror. He said it is understandably upsetting to our veterans and their families to see Nazi inscriptions near those who gave their lives for this nation. The VA said they will keep the original markers in the department's National Cemetery Administration History Collection and will now place signs at all VA national cemeteries where foreign enemy prisoners of war were interred to provide historical context. Representative Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who is Jewish and chairs the House Military Construction and Veterans Affairs Appropriations Subcommittee, welcomed the change in the VA's stance, which she called an honorable move in the right direction. Wasserman Schultz said the families of soldiers who fought against intolerance and hatred must never be forced to confront glorification of those very ideologies when visiting their loved ones. She tweeted, "We must make sure we don't erect totems to intolerance, allowing their history to be studied without causing pain for those most affected by it." Wasserman Schultz also thanked the crucial bipartisan support for the effort. Well, the home where Adolf Hitler was born will now become a police station. Austrian officials shared their plans today to neutralize the Yellow Corner house in the northern town of Braunau, where Hitler was born in 1889. It was taken into government control in 2016 and has been the subject of a legal battle with the home's owner. The house has become an attraction of sorts, drawing Nazi sympathizers to visit it. Austrian Interior Minister Karl Nehammer told a press conference that a new chapter will be opened for the future from the birthhouse of a dictator and mass murderer. U.S. company National Instruments Corporation, or NI, has bought Israeli firm Optimal Plus Ltd. Both work in the automotive and electronics industries. The acquisition was valued at $365 million. Optimal founder and CEO Dan Glotter said the acquisition by a technology leader like NI is testament to the leading-edge innovation delivered by our R&D product and data science teams in Israel, and to the great dedication and commitment of our employees across the world. Taking a look now at our programming for tonight on JBS for Tuesday, June the 2nd. At 7 o'clock, it's an in-depth look at the history of the Israeli-Arab conflict. At 8, New York Times columnist Bret Stephens and Israeli author Yossi Klein Halevi discuss their personal connections to Israel. At 9, Mark Golub sits down with former Israeli ambassador to the U.S., Danny Ayalon, who recalls what it was like to be a young boy in the harrowing days preceding the Six-Day War and the war's impact on Israel today. At 10, an overview of the creation and history of Israel by Union College professor Dr. Stephen Burke. And coming up right after this newscast tonight, it's In the News with Shachar Azani, who speaks with CEO of Our Common Destiny, Sandy Cardin. The group is an initiative for global Jewish unity, founded by the Genesis Philanthropy Group and Israel's government. And that's the JBS News Update for Tuesday, June the 2nd, 2020. I'm Teisha Bader. Stay healthy, stay well.